Hello, everyone, and welcome to this edition of the Daily Cannon Tactics Board. No, not an April Fool's. I'm back. The head is okay again, thanks to everyone who's reached out for the last little while. Sorry for ghosting you over that. It's just not been the best of times for your man Stephen here, but we're back. We're gonna give this a go. Hopefully, you'll be able to tune in like you all were before. And little bit of good news: Anita Sambal, who you might know from the Daily Cannon podcast, will also be chipping in here and there with little videos here and there, just to spruce up the content a bit, give you a little bit extra here and there. And yeah, after every game, this mug will be here to bring you the tactical tweaks and quirks. I haven't said that in a while, from all the games. And boy, did I choose to start on a doozy, an exhilarating, exhausting, end to end affair. This game wasn't, was it at all? But on a tactical side, it was fascinating because Arsenal turned up and killed the game. And I've seen a few people mention, this is Arteta's impression of Mourinho, but it wasn't. Kind of. It was more Atletico Madrid 2014. It was more Diego Simeone masterclass. And over the next 10 to 12 minutes, hopefully, I'll be able to show you how as we go back to our trusty tactics board. Or as we say, my website that I move around a few dots in, as one of the comments put in the last video, which is right, but it does its job. And what was fascinating about this game was that Pep obviously had a plan, and his plan was to flood the middle, right? His plan was to get Rodri up, Kovacic up, De Bruyne up, Foden in here, Bernardo in here, and then Haaland, hopefully, to get in on the end of any through balls or any crosses. And what was fascinating was that Arteta pretty much read his mind. Because Arteta set up in the hope that City would play through the middle and set up his team accordingly and ultimately nullified them completely. And it's interesting because there's usually two types of way you defend. You either defend really high up the pitch or you defend in a low block with everyone coming back. And Arsenal, probably the first team to have mastered both. Because when City would have a kick out, what Arsenal would do, and this takes a lot of cojones, a lot of, courage, frankly. What they would do, if Arteta has the ball here on a kick out, what Arsenal would do, they would push all the way up to the halfway line. And they'll say, right, that means all the City players have to come back. Because obviously for offside. Which means Rodri comes back, Foden comes back, Kovacic comes back, De Bruyne, Bernardo, and the big man himself. And what Arsenal would do, and it's thanks to basically hard work and effort and cardio that I would never even imagine of, what they would do is basically bait City into playing it wide. What Arsenal decided was that if Gvardiol or Akanji had the ball at any time, it's fine. That means De Bruyne doesn't have the ball, it means Foden doesn't have the ball, it means Silva doesn't have the ball, and it means no one's going to get the ball to Haaland. So they're like, okay, let's do this. Havertz pushes, Odegaard pushes, and Rice comes all the way up here on Rodri. And Saka's here and Jesus is here. Basically marking Kovacic and De Bruyne. White pushes up all the way. Kivior does the same. Jorginho sits behind. And basically Gabriel and Saliba both hug Haaland as if he's a long lost cousin. And Arsenal are like, go on. Off you go. Give it to Akanji. We dare you. We don't care. Give it to Guardiola. We don't care. And that's exactly what would happen. And as soon as the ball would get to Gvardiol, Saka would pounce, Odegaard would pounce, and now your fullback, who isn't really good on the ball, is stuck in a corner. Same on the other side. Havertz would switch over, Rice would switch over, Jesus would switch over, and Akanji is now stuck with the ball. And because of the immense amount of running these three players can do, that Odegaard could do on a regular basis, and Havertz has shown over the last couple of months that his dose of long COVID that he got after winning the Champions League with Chelsea that hampered him for 18 months, he's now over it and is able to put in the defensive work and cover all of this space so that someone of the ability of Declan Rice to read the game can now go, right, okay, if the ball goes here, I can cover here. If the ball goes here, I can cover here. And it's just suffocating. And City found it especially hard to get the ball out of their own half at times. And even Arsenal were able to get a couple of turnovers and get, Odegaard on the ball and get Jesus one or two half chances. And City were uncomfortable. They were simply uncomfortable. But what makes Arsenal such a nightmare to attack isn't the fact that they will press high on you. Because most teams these days will press high on you. Liverpool have done this for years. Brighton especially, over the last couple of years, have perfected this, where they will send 7, 8, 9 bodies at you in the hope of getting the ball. They're willing to concede all this space in the behind in the hopes of getting the ball in here. It's a gamble. But what Arsenal can do better than anyone is that if the ball goes to Guardiola and if it goes to Foden, and Ben White can't get the ball back off Foden, and Foden gets it to Kovacic, who is bombed on up here. What Arsenal can do better than anyone is get on their horses and do this. As soon as City have the ball in their own half and they've come forward, and they're pushing forward, Arsenal go, that's fine, that's no bother. And City all push up. Arsenal are more than happy to just go, right, okay. Hi, I'm Mike Bassett, and I defend 4-4 bleeping 2. And they just stay in this little box. And they're right, on you go, lads. Get in here. Again, there's no room for Foden. Foden can stand there all he wants. There's no room for Kovacic. There's no room there. Bernardo likes to come inside. There's no room for him. Rodri likes to sit. Rodri likes to come in the middle. So he goes there. Diaz and Ake cover the wings, cover the centre, I mean. And then, where's the space? It's out wide for the two lads that Arsenal want to have the ball again. Gvardiol and Akanji. Because as long as this is happening, there's no one to cross the ball into. So the ball goes just ring, 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 in a nice little U shape, that horseshoe, like this. As our good old heat map makes an addition on the channel for the first time in a year. But as you can see, it's just constant. Just Arsenal have them at arm's length. They're like, no, just you stay there. We're all right. And because Pep had picked a team to play narrow, their plan B is this man here, who basically takes the ball like a number 6 in rugby and runs straight through the middle of it. And what Arsenal did, and this is the difference between a Jose Mourinho side and a Diego Simeone side. What Arsenal did was, as soon you have a couple of triggers that say, as soon as one man gets the ball, you do this, and another man gets the ball, do this. As soon as Rodri got here, basically, Arsenal would collapse into the centre. And what I mean, I don't mean collapse mentally. What I mean is, if Rodri got here with the ball, 1, 2, 3, 4, and just converge on it, and just throw bodies at him. Just make sure he cannot get the ball out any way, shape, or form. That he has to pass back to either Kovacic or to a centre back, or if he's taking a shot, block it and then hope he can clear it. And for 70 minutes, that was the game. City would just consistently run into brick wall after brick wall after brick wall, because these 10 fantastically illuminous Chelsea men would just sit there and wait. They wouldn't be baited by Bernardo Silva coming back here, which was designed to drag Jesus with him. Jesus is fine. That's grand. It's one lad less that I have to worry about. Foden would come deep for the ball. Gvardiol would try and run wide. Then Gvardiol would drop back, so Foden could go deep. Did Ben White move? Nope. Ben White's saying if you're going to try and cross it from there with Saka there, me there, with Saliba and Gabriel doing this. I mean, if Kovacic scores a header, fine, but he's not going to because he's not going to get in the box because he's there to pass the ball back to Guardiola. So, what do you do? And then on top of that, City are hit by a bit of a blow themselves because Nathan Ake has to go off and is replaced by Lico News. And now they've an even bigger problem because now Lewis, who is a right back, Kanji now has to play left back. And Lewis is not a right back. Lewis is a right back as much as Zinchenko is a center is a left back. He's a centre mid. So now Guardiola now is shifted into centre back. Diaz goes here, and now you've got Lewis here playing as that inverted. But that means Bernardo's on the right on his own, but he's coming in as well. So now with Foden here, Kovacic here, Rodri and Lewis here, City are now like a plank. It's all congested. Arsenal, they're now forcing themselves even more into this wood chopper of a centre of defence that Arsenal have created, where they're like, you oh really you want to run in here? Fine, that's exactly what we want you to do. No problem at all. We've got four centre backs here waiting for you to do this. That's fine. That's no bother. We'll sit here all day. And like I said, for 70 minutes, City would just consistently just ball after ball after ball, man after man would just run in here, get smashed, come back out, run in here, get smashed, come back out, and Arsenal would just sit there. And then when the ball would come back here, Odegaard would press, Havertz would press, force them back. Then White would push forward, Saka would push forward, Saliba again, Kivior, Gabriel, they'd all come forward. And then City have to come all the way back again. And this was the pattern. This was the pattern. Arsenal just consistently moved City back and forward at will. So, what was City's response with 20 minutes to go? Well, because they've got so many injuries, they don't really have much on the bench. But in terms of getting rid of the idea of not having width, what they were able to do, to an extent, was make sure that Arsenal had something to fear. So, if we go back here, they take off Kovacic and Foden. Foden, again, who had done nothing all game because he was constantly tracked by Jorginho or Ben White. So they take off Foden for Jack Grealish. And they take off Kovacic, who a man who's destined never to be a Manchester City player because he's a box to box player, and City don't really need box to boxes. And they brought on Jeremy Doku to play wide right, to basically play wide right. Then De Bruyne would go in here, Bernardo would then sit, and they would try that. Now you have a problem if you're Arsenal because now it's not the fullbacks that are occupying this space anymore. Now it's Jack Grealish, who's one of the world's best at beating a fullback one on one, and Jeremy Doku, who is a very, very similar player. If you remember Nicolas Pepe a couple of years ago, where he has no right foot, all he wants to do, give me Doku, all give me Doku, all he wants to do is do this. All right. So now with Bernardo there like that, You've got this box midfield that City had last year that was so effective, and now you have to allow for the fact that doing this is not a good idea. You know, just compacting as much as possible is not a good idea because now you're leaving two of the best wingers in the world one on one. So Arsenal, to Arteta's credit, has an idea. He takes off Jorginho, who's not the quickest in the world, for Partey, and he tells Partey, basically, you stay there. And then on the other side, with Kivior, who had done a good job, but he's left footed. Tomiyasu isn't. Tomiyasu is right footed. So now Doku is literally running into Tomiyasu's strong foot, and now Grealish is facing a 2-on-1. Now that leaves space for Bernardo, but Odegaard's able to do that. And now you've got two City lads on the ball, but again, Arsenal nicely set up. And could City find a way through it? Nope. Because anytime Grealish did beat Ben White, what would happen was Partey was here. And now he's got to pass it back to Bernardo. And the whole point of Grealish being in the side and Doku being in the side is to get the centre backs away from the middle. It's the idea that if you can beat the first lad, the second lad comes over and that leaves space for your centre forward to do this. But all game long, Saliba and Gabriel, like I said, treated Haaland like a long lost cousin. They never let him go. And so anytime Doku did get past, Rice was there. Anytime, Jesus was taken off with 15 minutes to go for Trossard. And Saka came off as well with 10 minutes to go. He came off for Martinelli. And again, the same principle was in play. Keep up, run as hard as you can, but as soon as Arsenal get the ball, do this. Get up the pitch as quickly as you can, and everyone did it to make sure that City had to come back as well. And because of this, because of Arsenal's consistent movement, because of their ability to shift from one system to the other with very little complications, City were lost. City had one shot on target. Yeah, it'll say two big chances here. One of them was the ball that hit Ake on the head from a corner where he wasn't expecting it. And the other one was Haaland trying to pass the ball inside the 6-yard box. Like you're never going to have a game where you deprive City of no chances at all. But one shot on target in 90 minutes with 72% of the ball. Like that's job done. You have set up for 0-0 and you've come up with a way that obviously needs a hell of a lot of running and a hell of a lot of composure. But that's twice now this year that Arsenal have basically said to Manchester City, come on then, bring it. And City had no answer for it. They had one shot on target in the Emirates. They've had one shot on target here. Like, Arsenal are now a problem for Manchester City, and how many clubs in the world can you say that of? Liverpool, Real Madrid. Is that it? We've turned up at the Etihad, played well, got a point, and everyone who was expecting a classic has come away disappointed, thinking, "Oh my God, they're boring," without realizing that a point at the Champions is a good point. Did we win the league at the Etihad this season? No, but we didn't lose it here either, and that's the main thing. Anyway, that's my recap of City versus Arsenal last Sunday. If you did enjoy this, please feel free to leave a like, subscribe to the channel if you're interested in this sort of this sort of content going forward. If you saw anything in the game that I missed, or you want to just leave a comment saying how good or bad or indifferent this content was, feel free. We had a community before I ghosted 9 months ago. We had a vibrant community of people who loved talking tactics, who got along with each other. Hopefully, we might be able to start building that again as I get back in the groove and get these videos going. But yeah, I'm back, and yeah, maybe Arsenal are too. We'll talk to you next time, viewer. Cheers.